All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
What's up?
What's up?
Owen Wilson has a peace offering.
Uh-oh.
I saw my partsy outside, and although we are highly competitive former pro athletes and we want to play ball, we felt bad about some things that were said yesterday. My partsy didn't feel comfortable with the comment or the hashtag, "We ripped your soul out and stole your sports cards." So he handed me...
That's tough.
That was ruthless.
Dude, I get it.
Because Al's brother, we're on the hunt for this guy's cards. Legitimately, we have high priorities. I hope the mayor of the city is putting this at the top of her desk.
She's the most useless mayor.
I'm sure she's going to be on top of this.
She has no idea what she's doing, so don't worry about her. But anyway, he found these cards at his house, and he said, "I'm not on the show today, but I'd like to bolster up Al's brother's cards. I would like to offer them to you as a peace offering to give to Al's brother."
I will accept them happily. Thank you.
Call your parents, because I guarantee you they have a few of your cards kicking around the house. We should call our friends and the people that we know, the Tucks, guys that.
Oh, yeah.
Say, can you give a card or two? And we'll take
We got to build this back up.
What's that called?
It's like a GoFundMe.
A GoFundMe
But with
cards.
sports cards.
With sports cards for Al's brother.
Go card me.
Go card me for
Al's brother.
Nobody's going to care about my card, but I'll put a couple of mine in
Don't sell yourself short. Listen, I have some of my old cards too, man. I'll throw them into the mix if anyone's looking for any old cards.
That'll go for some cash.
I think so, and yeah, like
You
in
mean
all seriousness,
your old NHL cards?
Well, not
your.
Oh, I have OHL cards.
Oh, you're talking
I have
your old
my
NHL.
own cards,
Dude, we're trying
but
to build his. We're trying to build his surplus.
I understand that. I also have some of my old cards. I believe somewhere in the house. I don't know where they are. I remember I had an Eric Lindros rookie card somewhere in the house I can find. I had
take a go card me for Al's brother.
Yes.
Now I've got
someone stole his cards. Like if you're not aware of this, like in all seriousness, it's so gutless, and we need to find this guy's cards. He's not in a good place. He's sick today. He couldn't even go to wherever he's supposed to go for the Leaf tickets today.
For his clue?
I have to read the clue because Al's brother is...
Is he Harry Dunn? Like, is he sitting on a porta potty somewhere?
I don't know how much of this is just the Bills really put him in a bad place.
Ripped his heart out.
How under the weather is he? All he had to say is, "I'm
I understand that.
corner of this and this."
I guess I don't know what to say, man.
What
I don't know
if
what to say to you.
Typed it out and did AI. Like you could put it into your computer and it'll be like Stephen Hawking.
He could have AI voiced it and just emailed it to Doogie.
We could put a picture up of Al's brother on a cruise somewhere and just have the Siri voice underneath it.
Just go, "I am at
this place in the city." Yeah, I know we could do that, but I guess Al's brother's fighting it for whatever reason, so he's not available today. But okay, we've started the Go Card Me app.
Yes.
Go Card Me fund here for Al's brother.
And I'll double the reward. Al's brother has a reward if he gets his card back. I don't know what that is, and I don't want to get crazy here, but I will also double Al's brother's
What if
reward.
his reward was like $82?
$100,000 or so? No, what if it's $100,000 or $82?
It's $82 or $100,000. Nothing
One or
in
the other.
between.
It's possibly a voucher for a cruise.
That's true.
It's possibly a voucher for a cruise.
It's his plus one on a cruise.
Plus one, which I think is very valuable because Al's brother lives A+ whenever he goes on a cruise.
I've got lots of questions here.
About the weekend or about Al's brother?
Last night. I'm done with
let's
Al's
move
brother.
off Al's brother.
Last
We're thinking
night
about
was
Al's brother,
insanity.
but
what's going on here?
well, listen, I think at the forefront is just the greatness of the Kansas City Chiefs. Do not allow that to be buried, right? I know we look at the losing team and the heartbreak of the Bills, and I've got a lot of things to say on that. We all do. We got a great show today. Rob Gronkowski's coming up. Gronk will join us in an hour. Luke Wilson coming up in a couple of hours as well. And there's always talk about the refs and talk about, execution and lack thereof or the coaching staff. At the end of it, you just got to tip your cap, man. We talked about it on last week. Like, I was rooting for the Bills. I bet on the Bills. I wanted to see the Bills. But I'm not going to lose sight of the greatness of Kansas City. You can't. Like, all they do is win. All they do is win.
I can remember very vividly, my buddy called me after Tiger Woods had, like, 2 or 3 years in a row, he sank a putt to win the Bay Hill Arnie's tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me after one of those and said, this guy's getting it's beyond Michael Jordan now. And I think kind of Patrick Mahomes, if he continues to do this, you got to be looking at it where it's like, they just always, it's like Tiger Woods at the U.S. Open. He had to make a 12-foot putt. And it's like, you're watching it and you're like, this guy is going to do this. And you're doing the same thing with Mahomes. It's like 4th and 6 you got for the game. He's going to make the play.
Yeah, he always does.
4th and 1, push the team down the field. You know what you're going to watch before it happens. It's like they're going to do it, and he's doing it every time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the refs, they've got a big light shined on them, do they not?
But again, I think it's getting to a point where don't allow it to overshadow the greatness of Kansas City. I think that's unfair to Kansas City. It was a talking point leading up to Sunday. All the different protecting the quarterback rules and all the different flags that seemed to go their way. And yesterday there was the worthy catch, which was debatable, but they stuck with it being a catch. Okay. And then there was the spotting of the ball on 4th and 1. But I thought Luke did a great point of pointing out last night when he was on with Jay, don't allow it to come down to a millimeter.
Exactly.
Get 2 yards so you're guaranteed to move the chains.
I agree.
And that's what sticks out to me is, honestly, in the end, it's the Bills couldn't get the job done. Like, what you're going to get out of Kansas City every year is they're going to execute, they're going to be disciplined, they're going to have a game plan.
Yeah.
Mahomes is never going to have an off day. That's the amazing thing about him. He just doesn't have an off day.
Right.
You're not going to show up and he threw 3 picks and he was brutal that day. He doesn't do that. It's not going to happen. So the old "if I had have told you."
Right.
Back in August when they showed up for camp, all you can do is dream of 2 scenarios the Bills had last night and they pissed away both. Up 22-21, ball in Josh Allen's hands, beginning of the 4th quarter. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah,
that's the best
sign
you're
off
getting.
on that. You would
yes,
sign off on
you're
that.
not winning 55-23 ever against Kansas City.
Right.
All you can do in August is pray you have an opportunity to be up 22-21 with Allen having the ball.
Yeah.
They didn't move the chains. They gave the ball back. And the second opportunity was at the end. 3 minutes and 37 seconds left. Multiple timeouts. Ball is in the hands of Superman Josh Allen, who maybe just had the greatest season in franchise history.
Right.
You're down 3. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
That's it. And they had it, and they couldn't get the job done. So you can talk about the spot, the ref, should it have been a catch, this, that. I'm sick and tired of Taylor Swift and Kelsey and Mahomes and Allen. The Bills had 2 opportunities in the 4th quarter that every team in the league would pray for. All you can do is ask for that.
Didn't get it done.
And they didn't get the job done.
But the question,
end of discussion.
I think it's not too early to be going to this. Like, what do the Bills have to? They got to be looking at themselves saying, what the hell do we do to get past this guy? Because you're talking about, what goes into an NFL season. You're talking about tryouts, this and that, in spring tryouts, whatever the hell the whole OTAs, everything, summer training camp, to get to one guy and one coach and one team. But it's like, how could you possibly alter your thinking or your preparation or your roster or your coach for that? Like, what would you do?
Well, it's so isolated to that.
Yes.
That's what's crazy about it. It's not like, use the Leafs as an example where they've run into different teams and
they're not
lost in
talking
different
about
ways.
the Atlantic Division and how big this.
Right.
They're talking about one coach, one quarterback, and one team in one game.
How do we do it? And they're not alone. Baltimore's doing the same thing, and Cincinnati's going to do the same thing, and the Chargers are going to do the same thing. Every team in the league, and now Philly, the Eagles are doing the same thing. They're like, okay, if we were ever going to win, we're going to run into this guy and this team, and here we go again. And that's what makes it so frustrating, and also, I think, so cruel. I think it's even more. It's the most like cruel way of torture if you're a fan, because there were so many different moments where you believed it was going to be different.
Yeah.
And then Mahomes and company just snatched away your opportunity and your soul and just said, no, you're not getting it this time.
They don't have that moment where they're pissing it away. Like you said, it's not like down 23-20 through and Mahomes doesn't go out there and toss a pick.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't piss it away. They don't.
Or up big, to your point. Like, hey, we were up by 17 and we just collapsed and choked. It's just you didn't seize the opportunity, and it's the slimmest of hopes you have, but you got to take advantage.
All I could think about was the meme with Screech. That's Josh Allen standing there.
Unfortunately, that was Josh
Allen standing there with the flowers.
Josh Allen is Screech when it comes to the playoffs and Mahomes. He's 0-4.
But that's Mahomes. Is Zach the guy?
Yes, Zach Morris, and I don't know who. I don't know who it is. Andy Reid, the Super Bowl, I guess.
Super Bowl, yeah.
The Super Bowl trophy, the Lombardi Trophy, and Patrick Mahomes, and then there's Josh Allen in the corner.
I found it fascinating, and I always find it fascinating. I sometimes catch myself like just paying attention to things that probably the average viewer wouldn't look at. But I find it fascinating looking at Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines, on the bench, when the other team has. He looks like he's sitting in a park looking at flowers, man.
It's amazing.
Dude, do you not notice that?
Yeah.
Like he's just literally like chewing on his mouth guard, and he's like, he's casually looking like he's at a park.
Yeah.
He gets out onto the field and he turns into a killer. And it's just like.
It's the ultimate cheat code, just having that mentality, because. Again, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, there's so many different guys. Like, you can look at Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, and from a talent standpoint, put them in any order.
Yeah.
I might look at it one way. You could look at it the other way. But what Mahomes has that the other two don't, and again, it's not just Mahomes. The Chiefs were great, and their defense is great. But he has that ability to just completely zone in, and he's got no pulse out there. And it's sickening
it's the clutch
because
gene too.
He's got the clutch gene.
Like,
and that's what Brady had forever.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Brady had. And that's what's crazy is, like, we went from New England right into Kansas City, and there was an overlapping.
Yeah.
Like New England went into Arrowhead in 2019 and beat them and basically passed the torch on the way out. And now it's just Kansas City's turn, and the guy's 29 years old. He's not going anywhere.
The thing is, has Mahomes come back from 28-3?
He did early in their playoff runs, but not at the Super Bowl. Right. But
Brady's had some
had moments. And listen, we're going to spend 2 weeks on the Brady and Mahomes thing. Like, it's just never going to stop. And he's worthy of the comparison because of his greatness. Like, it's the winningest quarterbacks in NFL history are Brady, then Mahomes. He's already number 2 on the list.
Crazy.
Like, he's won 9 games in a row in the playoffs. The record holder's Brady. He won 10 in a row at one point, early 2000s. So if he wins the Super Bowl, he's tied with Brady. And then if he wins again next year in his first playoff game, which he probably will, he'll set new records. And then if you look at Josh Allen, I saw one tweet. Teams with 4+ touchdowns and 0 turnovers are 21-2 in the playoffs since 2020. The 2 losses are the Bills at the Chiefs yesterday and the Bills at the Chiefs in the 2021 divisional round. And, like, there's all these different, like, tweets out there in playoff history, teams to do this, and it's always like the Bills are the ones on the outside looking in. Man. And I feel sick for their fans because they had opportunities to do it, but I think you just got to tip your cap, man. It's just an incredible team and incredible run. That blitz they ran on 4th and 5 at the end of the game.
Luke was raving about that throw, saying it was one of the greatest throws ever seen.
And Kincaid, you got to catch that, but it's a really tough catch. He stops and goes back, and he's got to track it.
I know, but it seems like it was the other way, and
Kelsey catches
that.
Absolutely.
In those circumstances and in that particular point in the game, it's like that guy would make that catch somehow.
Yep. Kelsey catches that ball. Like, it just seems that way.
Right.
Whether it's true or not, it just seems that way.
Or Edelman.
Or Edelman, exactly.
Kelsey, Edelman, like those
Gronkowski,
guys.
Gronk makes that catch.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about these dynasties, and it's the slimmest of margins. And, you look at it, again, the Bills and Josh Allen 0-4 in the playoffs against Mahomes. You win 2 of those, maybe you have 2 rings right now.
Yeah,
and everything's different. And maybe you look at them on par, but you didn't win those games, and they all came down to the 4th quarter, and they didn't break your way. Rob Gronkowski coming up. Gronk will join us on that. Like, just having, I guess, full faith and belief that your quarterback is going to get the job done, and your team for that matter.
Right.
Because, like, Andy Reid's a phenomenal coach, and Spagnuolo's a great defensive coordinator. Their defense is great.
I love Andy's interview afterwards because they're like, you have a long history in Philly. It's like, treat it like it's one. Like he's
already beat them. He beat them a couple years ago.
He just is. He's like Mahomes. They're just poised, right?
Absolutely. They never show any, they never look flustered, and like someone's got to get them at some point. I just have no idea who's going to do that.
And the other thing I noticed about Mahomes is like he's like hungrier than ever to have a three-peat. Like I can't wait down to get down to New Orleans. Like, this guy's just won back-to-back Super Bowls, and he can't. It's like their season is so much longer than a team that just doesn't even make the playoffs. It's not even funny.
I know. He goes to the AFC Championship game at a minimum every single year of his career.
And he's just dying. Like, he's freaking out before the game, yelling at himself, like pumping himself up. I'm like, that is like the ultimate winning machine. A guy that's clutch like that, who's intense. He always delivers. What else can you say about it?
There's nothing else to say about
It's literally a machine.
Does Philly have a lunatic on their team that would take a penalty on him? A little extra?
I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't really work that way. I guess it's possible, but the protection.
That's what I mean. The protection. I'm saying
no one's going to do something stupid or crazy. Like
it would have already happened.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying there's always. I always feel like there's, a guy that's like a little unhinged would be like, okay, I'll do it. I'll take one for the team. I'm gonna
maybe, but the thing is, this guy's so tough. What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
Hit him, and then what? He's just gonna get up and kill you. Like I don't honestly.
He's hurt anyways.
Yeah, he plays through everything. Like he's got everything, man. Mahomes, like it's got to be sickening if you're a Bills fan just hearing people pump his tires, but you have to respect it.
You got to give him this.
You can hate him all you want. There's a part of you if you're a Bills fan.
I talked to somebody last week that was like, I'm sick of seeing the Chiefs. I want somebody else.
I put my hand up. I was hoping that would be the case. I wanted the Bills to win. I was hoping the Bills would get through. I think it would be incredibly compelling, but I'm not. It's not. I can't stop. That doesn't mean I don't appreciate their greatness.
And we didn't see Taylor Swift too much last night.
And I don't have a problem with Taylor Swift. I don't care that she's there and all that, but it is. It's.
But when she first was on the scene, it was 800 throws to her. Now it's not.
Not her problem, though.
No,
that's on CBS and Fox.
That's on the director and the producer. But now they've got it in check.
Yeah.
They don't go to her every play.
Well, and we'll see what comes of it, come Super Bowl Sunday for sure. But
that Tony Romo's saying some weird stuff. Jim, like he went from being this like, I don't know, he's just saying some weird stuff.
Well, he calls almost every Bills playoff game. Too. Like you talk to people in Buffalo, it's always CBS. Like Jim Nantz and Romo have called every big Bills game for years.
They probably feel like they hate the Bills.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the same time,
a lot of the broadcast is pumping up Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Exactly. Yeah. And that would get really tiring. I can't put myself in the shoes of a diehard Bills fan. I'm not one.
Isn't Carlo one?
Yeah, but I think you have to be sensible and reasonable and just realize what do you want people to say? That would be my question to anyone that's like, well, they love Mahomes too much. What do you want anyone to say about this guy other than pump his tires?
Yeah.
What are you supposed to say about a guy that ever since he's shown up, he has destroyed everybody?
Yeah.
Like you can hate it. It can get boring. What you do is you blame the refs. You blame this, that, and the other. It's the same thing that Brady and the Pats went through. Deflategate and they cheat or they're this or that. Or they're unlikable. At some point, you just got to tip your cap and say, these guys are too good, man.
Yeah.
They're too good. And, the spread's 1.5. They're favored by 1.5. The Eagles are a good team.
Maybe Philly gets them.
Possibly. It's possible. Again, that spread would suggest it's basically a pick 'em.
I'd said this to you before we came on the air. If I was a Giants owner, every play, I would have fired the Giants GM 5 different times this postseason watching Saquon Barkley. I'm like, what on earth were you thinking of just letting that guy walk?
Yeah.
That's tough to.
And he wanted to be a Giant. Like, he wanted to play for the Giants.
Yeah. First 2 touches, 2 touchdowns. And the first one he went for like 60 yards and torched the Commanders. Like, the tackling on this was awful, though. Like,
I get it, but
you've got to get him down. That's embarrassing. Like, that's like a
That's a kid.
Washington
like a man
Generals.
versus kids. Yeah,
it's Washington Generals.
Like
tackling.
there's been situations where the team doesn't want to pay the quarterback or the running back. Like the Steelers and Le'Veon Ball, they were like, we don't want to pay you, so he goes to the Jets or whatever. This guy's not Le'Veon Ball.
Oh, he's the most impactful player in the league.
Bell. Yeah. Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah. Impactful player in the league that's not a quarterback. Like no one has, and he has the chance to become maybe the greatest free agent signing ever. I mean, you might look at Brady with the Bucs.
Right.
I was thinking Reggie White with the Packers in the 90s. There's other ones that are significant, man.
Just how you let that guy walk is insane.
Yeah. I can't wait to see him at the Super Bowl. Like that's going to be awesome to see what Barkley does and all the different props surrounding him and everything. But, yeah, Super Bowl 59 is set, and Rob Gronkowski will join us at 5. Luke Wilson coming up. We'll get his take on all of it and start looking ahead. But, man, it's tough for Bills fans. And now if you're in Buffalo, you're like, okay, well, let's turn the page. What are the Sabres up to? Let's take a look. Oh, great. They're in last place in the East.
Yeah.
Like, now you just got to wait until September until the Bills play again.
Yeah.
Not the best.
That's a tough page flip if you're just like, now I'm really going to get engaged in my Sabres.
Sabre fan now.
Yeah. And
Coming
you
down
just,
the stretch.
You open up the old school paper and go just to the standings. You're just
You're like, okay, maybe.
beside yourself.
Yeah. You're basically waiting for the Bisons to start playing. Like, when do the AAA teams start playing baseball again?
Bison.
Well, they've got a lacrosse team there, too.
Yeah, I guess you
Pretty
can
good.
get on board with the lacrosse team.
Hey, you never know. Maybe the Sabres are sniffing around in some trades. 'Cause
Wow,
that was,
yeah.
that
My
was a
God.
big
What
story.
was your, like,
About the Rantanen deal?
Rantanen? Like, that was insane.
That was a crazy deal.
There's
on
a
Friday
lot
night.
to unpack with that, especially with the comments coming out today. I believe he threw this one out there. I was willing to take less than my market value,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden I was traded. That sounds a little fishy to me.
There's lots of fishiness going around on that.
You think so?
I think
from
so.
From who though? Like, where is the fishiness?
Okay, so what was your market value? Like, maybe, like, again, I was willing to.
That's the
take
thing.
less
Maybe
than
he thought his
value.
market value was 15
Drysdale,
million.
14 and a half, 15.
Right.
And they're like, well, we'll get you 11 and a half, 12. Like, I don't know, but I think it's just weird that Nathan McKinnon, one of the best players on the planet, who played with him arguably for 9 years, was shocked by that. I don't know about that. Usually managers in that will have a conversation with your top player and go, we're making some moves here. You're taking his line mate away. Like, somewhere along there, maybe there's some information. He's claiming, no, the coach was beside himself. Jared Bednar, I watched them play Saturday against Boston. They lost. Afterwards, McKinnon's like, I don't care about the loss. I care about the loss, but I care more about we lost Rantanen. Same thing. The coach said the same thing. So I don't know if McFarland walked in and said, I'm trading this guy, and you guys got to deal with it.
Yeah, well, that's what it would seem as if that was the case.
That's always can be the case when you're dealing with a number. And if the organization, and let me just make this clear to everyone listening and watching, there can be greasy moves on both sides of the ledger here.
Including the agent gets involved.
An agent could
So there's
get involved.
3 sides here.
Teams all the time will jam up a player. Sometimes a player will jam up a team by saying, this is my number, you got to get to it. Like, there's all kinds of greasy things going on. This is not like fun and games and rainbows and popsicles where people are like, oh, this is great. Like, this is serious stuff,
Serious
and
business.
it gets intense. And there's all kinds of greasy things that can go on. But I kind of respect the fact that Colorado was like, look, if you keep throwing around these type of numbers, we're just going to trade you. And they actually pulled the trigger and did it.
That's the amazing.
Whether that works out for them or not, because you're taking a really damn good player out of your roster, and who knows how it turns out, because no matter who they bring in there, they're not going to be Rantanen.
I don't think they're done, though. That's the thing. Like, I don't know if you saw McFarland's comments. He's like, we weren't deep enough. We're not deep enough. So he gets net cash. I always butcher his name. Good player, but not Rantanen, different player. And then you got Drury as depth, but he's got money. And I know everyone's pointing to Sid and saying Sid's going to go play with his best friend. Well, it's not happening. Everyone's saying not happening. Right now, what if Pittsburgh loses 10 in a row and Sid has a change of heart?
You're telling me it could get much worse for Pitt, where if Sid's going to stay finally like, oh, okay, trade me?
All I'm saying is I think there's a bigger play. What we get in the public and behind, we're not behind the curtain. Chris McFarland, Joe Sakic, the Colorado Avalanche, they've circled 1 or 2 players that they're bringing in to help their
So
team.
let me ask you this question. Do you think that this is a precursor to Sid going to Colorado?
I'm not saying no, and don't radio me.
Because you'd be stupid if you were
saying
like betting on
this
that.
might be a precursor to somebody we're not looking at. Maybe they covet somebody in Boston, and Cam Neely has said, we're going to go 2 different directions at the deadline. We're either going to go all in or we're going to reset because it's not our year. Like, maybe they do something like that. Maybe they look at another team that's around on the cusp. What's going on in Vancouver? We don't know. I mean, all you hear from the insiders was, well, Vancouver's holding the market up. Colorado said, we're going around the market. We're going to go and you know, Carolina thinks that they've got a real good team there. They might not be done. Like, to me, this might be the first domino of many things to go in the league because everyone's going to go, okay, they did that. We're going to do something. To me, it looked like Vegas. Like that's cold like Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. Like my first reaction was, I love this play for Carolina. I think this is a brilliant Grand Slam play because the East is wide open. That has been established for weeks. There is not a great team in the East. None of them are great. Washington's been very red hot, very good. I don't know if that's going to continue in the playoffs. Florida, let's see. They've been to 2 straight Cup finals. I could see their wheels falling off. The Leafs are the Leafs. I mean, if I'm Carolina, I'm looking at this saying, I'm doing this deal 10 days out of 10. I'm putting my chips in the middle. Let's go out and chase the Stanley Cup. I think it's a brilliant, brilliant play by Carolina. Sneaky, brilliant.
Not the best player.
Exactly. Rantanen's a top 12 or 15 player in the league. Like this guy, and he's best friends with Aho. The two of them are going to set up. You know they're going to be money together.
That's the other thing.
This guy's done it all. Like, Rantanen's a winner. He's got everything going for him. I think from Carolina's standpoint, it's just a Grand Slam sneaky stealth play.
But that's the other thing. His best friend's Aho. You don't think there was a text or call in there?
Possibly.
Like, to me,
possibly.
There's lots of, behind-the-scenes chatter, all of that. You got to be careful with tampering, but it's these guys are all buddies. You just like Rantanen walking in that dressing room, he knows a few of the guys already. His best buddy is Aho. Like at somewhere along the line, if they've had dinner in the summer, dinner on the road or whatever, be like, yeah, I'd love to play together. Who knows?
And who knows if he's going to sign there? Like he's a UFA after this year, and that's what makes this so intriguing.
You really think that he's going to sign in Carolina for $14 million a year?
Are they going to offer him $14 million a year?
I would.
They
didn't want to pony up to give Gensel the proper amount. You think they're going to do it with Rantanen?
Their history would suggest probably not.
What if they have success with him? What if they, like you said, if the East is wide open, and what if they have a nice deep run and he's a big part of it? Like this is new management there too.
But it's the same owner. I mean, it's the owner that's going to have to spend, right? And that is like my spidey sense would suggest that's what happened in Colorado. Is they said McKinnon's making $12.6 million per. McCarr's a UFA in 2 years. McCarr's going to blow past McKinnon, and everyone knows it, and he should. He's going to make $15, $16 million or whatever.
And they probably told that to Rantanen.
I'm sure they did.
McCarr's the only guy that we're going to blow the doors, and you're not
exactly.
We're not doing it twice.
I'm not convinced they'd be comfortable with any deal with Rantanen. I'm not convinced at all. Like, even if he said, I'll take 11, I'm not convinced at all that they were willing to accept that. I think they looked at it and said, we're going to pay McKinnon 12.6, McCarr 15-16, and then everything else will be spread out.
It's not a bad idea to say we're going to give McCarr and McKinnon that kind of money, but we're not having a third guy making that kind of cash because we want some depth.
Exactly. And here's
not crazy, people.
Another truth in all this that I think gets lost is Colorado probably looks at it, and this is a reality. They got his best years. Yeah. He's in year 9. They got his best years.
Yeah.
He won a cup, and he was brilliant throughout that cup run. They've been to, all these different, playoff runs. He scored 50, and they probably looked at it and said, am I going to give this guy 8 years? He's a big guy. What's he going to look like? You know what? We're going to cut bait.
That's right.
And it's ruthless.
It is. Yeah. Because in 4 or 5 years, they're going to be like, look at that guy out there. We got to pay him $12 million to watch this. No thanks.
Because McKinnon and McCarr, they can fly, man. Yeah. And they look, and they're going to skate until they're 35, 36, 37. I think that's kind of been lost in the shuffle. Like, everyone obviously is like, he's still a stud, which he is. He's a superstar. He's one of the best players in the game.
Right. But when's the drop-off coming?
Where's the drop-off? Yeah. And you got 9 great years and you got a cup.
Yeah.
It's an NFL play. It's an NFL play is, man, that guy's still an all-pro. He's great. Yeah, but will he be in 2 or 3 years? And that's the reality of it. And are they a worse team today? Absolutely they are. They are a worse team. Doesn't guarantee they won't be exactly better in the future. Or it's about where you're putting your money.
Yeah.
It's like we're willing to commit to 2 guys, big money. We want more money over here so that we can mold our franchise and make it look a little bit different.
Yeah.
I can understand that mentality. And it's ruthless, it's tough, but it's a business, and I kind of appreciate it.
We've been dying for that.
I appreciate it from Colorado. It's a hockey move. Exactly.
It's a hockey move.
You talk about Screech. Yeah. Chicago Screech. What the hell are the Blackhawks doing? Eating half the contract and then throwing all in.
And they get a
third-round pick. Like, that Screech, we need you for 5 minutes. We're going to flip Rantanen through.
We'll get some food.
You go, exactly. Like that.
Dude, I'm sorry. That is Tommy Boy in a sales meeting. Where he's There is a guy looking at him like, what are you talking about?
We need a third team here. Who can we call? Chicago.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was. You're right, though, Noodles. We've been waiting for it. It was a great deal. Great deal. Great hockey deal out of nowhere.
I think there's more
powerhouse teams in both
Somebody
conferences.
sent out a tweet. I don't laugh that much at Twitter because it's usually just a garbage site. Someone sent out a tweet. It was something similar to, someone has to take a serious look at Chicago of what's going on there because this just doesn't seem right.
It's a whole weird kind of vibe down there.
You're eating half of Rantanen's salary
For a
and you
third
got
rounder.
a
For
third.
a third rounder, yeah, and I guess unloading
And you gas
Hall, but
Taylor Hall.
I think if he's healthy,
He can add. Like, he can add to that group.
Yeah.
I just don't make sense of it.
It's a weird one to make sense of. It's a weird one to make sense of. Anyway,
Yeah, like
maybe
that
Pierre LeBrun
boardroom,
can
if
help us.
that Davidson walked in and be like, how's everyone feeling after this? I would have a tough time keeping a straight face.
Yeah,
I would just be like, what did we just do? Like, what are we doing here?
isn't- The
middleman.
other thing I read was that Taylor Hall and Bedard are pretty close. Like, he's been
Kinda mentoring
helping.
him,
Like,
yeah.
Foligno and Hall have been. All of a sudden, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
out you go.
See you later.
That's a weird one.
It's a tough run for Chicago right now. All right. Rob Gronkowski in about a half an hour. Luke Wilson coming up here. LeBron still to come as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Overdrive continues. Powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Got Rob Gronkowski in about a half an hour. His take on Kansas City and Philly winning yesterday. You know, he's got a long history, obviously, of, you know, the 2 weeks in between Super Bowls and how you keep yourself preoccupied and all that good stuff. And the Leafs are off until Wednesday, and they lost on Saturday night. Ottawa won Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, it was big for them.
Big for them,
Yeah.
both in reg. And now you look at the standings, like Ottawa's in third place now in the division. They're 6 points behind the Leafs.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty jammed up. Like, the Leafs, again, have I wouldn't say they've had a great January. They haven't had an awful January, but it is it's
be a
pretty
dog.
tight, man. Yeah, it's pretty tight.
If you, I keep saying this, if you lose 5 or win 5, it's the separator. That's going to be the separator down the stretch.
But Ottawa's got to be saying to themselves, if we get our goalie that come in and play, and these guys that have filled in, Jamie, you're
Yeah, they've done a
you're along the benches. They've done a damn good job.
yeah.
I would actually love for them to play so good where you could say to the other guy, you just sit and wait now until they start playing bad, and then maybe you can come back in the net because it just drives me that crazy. But if they get some guys hot, they could really solidify a spot.
Yeah.
That's what they've got to be saying. Instead of like tooth and nail every week, like go on a heater for 2 weeks and you could really set yourself up nicely. It's never going to be ultra comfortable, but man, they got a great opportunity.
And Boston's won. Now, Boston's got less games. Well, they're with Florida. Tampa's got games in hand, but Columbus, like, to me, Columbus is a great story. I think that they would drop out, but they're not. Dean Evason's got to be up for coaching.
He's done a great job. there, yeah.
Unbelievable job.
Great job.
But it's about scheduling. It's about winning games in your division. You know, all of this types of stuff. And it's going to be tight down the stretch.
Makes for great watching
think
down the
the
stretch
Atlantic-
every night.
We should have a Jerry's at some point.
Oh, a
maybe
mini?
not a mini, but maybe in the next couple of weeks. Whoever wins the Atlantic, what's the points? I think it's going to be like 103.
It's going to be over 100, clearly.
Right. I think
Definitely
it's
over 100.
103, 105, like in that. It's not going to be 112,
No,
115.
that ship has sailed.
I think because of everybody being lumped up, it's going to be 100 plus or whatever, but it's not going to be 112.
You want to fill out a potential bracket, what it's going to look like at the end, closest to for a hunch?
That's a great idea.
That'd be a nice little bracket.
Points,
That's a great idea.
standings, wild card, and whoever has the closest looking bracket to the finish line, a hunch each, we throw it in the pot.
Okay. Yeah, because we're closing in on, 30 games.
Yeah, once we
right?
get to 30 games, everyone's kind of going to be like, you
got a
60
pretty
points
good
up
read
for
on where
grabs.
things are at.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I like that idea. Yeah, and listen, you're tracking it now. Like we said last week, it felt like something kind of flipped, and all of a sudden it became, okay, go time here, and we got serious races, and
Yep.
now you got that Rantanen trade again, which was
I think it was epic.
It's a power shift move, exactly. Like if you look at the East, Carolina, Washington's likely going to win that division, likely win the East in terms of the top seed.
Yeah.
They've just played so consistently well. They defend well. Logan Thompson got a contract extension today. That's big for him. 6 years at like $5.8 million per, I believe. Like that's a big commitment, but the guy's been phenomenal this year for them.
27.
And he's in his prime.
Like he's in his prime.
I think that's a fair contract, though. He didn't say, give me Shesterkin money or give me Hellebuck money.
Sorry, what was the number?
It's
5.8.
Yeah, it's 6 years at about $5.8 million per.
So that's Joey Decord had signed. He deserved more than Joey Decord. And somebody else just recently signed as well. So they're in that, 5+ range. Him at 5.8. I said to Pierre LeBrun the other day, I thought it wouldn't surprise me if he was looking for something with a 6 in it. They got 5.85 or 5.8. That's a great number for
and it's
both
smart
sides.
for him, too. You found a rhythm. They like you. They trust you.
Put 30-some million in his pocket.
Yeah.
He went and earned it, though. He deserves it.
He deserves it because he's been great this year.
But he's a good goalie. They got a good thing there. They've got Lindgren, who's 31, and now you've got Logan Thompson at 27.
Yeah.
Like that, 2 lefty goalies are pretty good.
But putting Washington aside, presuming they continue on the pace that they've been on, everything else is really difficult to make a call on.
Yeah.
And I think, again, if you're the Leafs and where you're at, you're hoping for some health. You're probably anticipating moves. Like, I wonder what happens in the room around other contending teams in the East when they see Carolina do what they did. Right? Like, there's only one Rantanen, and that's not – the Leafs aren't going to acquire a guy of his stature. That's not going to happen. But it's a pretty significant –
you never know. You might call up Chicago. Chew on something.
You could try to.
Is the Marner thing just –
Marner's not – I don't get that impression. I mean, Dregs was on the morning show today. Again, Marner's different because he got a full no move, full no trade. Rantanen had limited no trade or no move clauses in there that I think Colorado could work around.
Yeah, he had 9 teams.
Exactly. So –
But, I mean – it still should shine a light.
Well,
this is a guy.
It shines a light, Jamie, on people who think you have to sign. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to sign Mitch Marner. And if his demand or his number is at a certain level and they don't have success in the playoffs, again, why do you have to do anything? So just let the situation play out. See how the playoffs go. See how he plays in the playoffs. See how the team does. And then you can reassess. And if he really wants to be a Maple Leaf, maybe you find some middle ground. But the Colorado Avalanche just said, we don't want to have 3 guys making buku money because we don't want to do it. We want to have some depth. And they've won a Stanley Cup, and they're not dummies out there. So why do the Leafs have to do anything? And Tavares is in the same boat.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have to do anything, but they have been more committed to their philosophy.
No, I know, but like, how come
team.
the Maple Leafs have to be committed to that where they got to give this guy that much money? Another team's going to do it.
They shouldn't.
Why does it have to be the Maple Leafs?
They shouldn't be, but their history would suggest that they will be. I would look at the Bills, okay? You asked me before we came on the air, what do you think is going to happen with McDermott? Sean McDermott is to the Buffalo Bills what the core 4 is to the Maple Leafs. It represents stability, great regular seasons, a guaranteed dance.
Yeah.
Like you're getting in, a lot of comfort there. And before McDermott showed up and before the core 4 showed up, it was a desert here, man.
Yeah.
It was completely unraveled, and there was no chance at any success. There was no chance at even a glimmer of hope. And McDermott stabilized things in Buffalo, and as a result, I think they're just going to stick with him. They're going to say, we're bringing this guy back, and I don't care if you think he's too conservative or he doesn't have the game plan set up properly against Mahomes, et cetera. He represents stability within the AFC, and he guarantees us an opportunity at going back.
Right.
It's the same thing with the core 4. And the Leafs, just like the Bills, they haven't won anything, and they're still chasing it, and they're terrified of what could happen if you go a separate way. Right, it's glass half empty.
Right,
with the core 4 philosophy and Sean McDermott. Well, you might get someone worse. You might get worse. You may do it wrong. You may lose out on the regular season success, and then what? As opposed to the glass half full is
maybe you get over the top.
Maybe you get over the top.
Yeah,
but it's been a terrifying proposition for the Maple Leafs to move off that. And again, Dregs was on First Up this morning saying his belief is the Leafs want to sign Marner. Marner wants to stay. I think he said if Marner called them up and said, let's sit down now and start knocking out contract details, they'd be like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, what Colorado's done here is say, we're not going above this guy, and we've got this philosophy, and we're going to stick to it.
Right.
The Leafs philosophy is not, like, steeped in cap in hard numbers. It's steeped in the players.
Right.
And it's just you got to have them, and whatever it's going to cost, so be it. And that's what they've always done, and I don't think they're going to get off that, win or lose. Like, I've reached that point. They could get swept in the first round. I think if Mitch Marner calls them up and goes, all right, I'll sign now, they'll sign him. Why would it change now?
Because you get to a certain point. If they fail miserably in the playoffs, you have a chance with Austin Matthews, 2 or 3 years left of him being around, to reshape what the team looks like and do something different, as opposed to going at it with 4 guys making all that money. Do something different and have a different looking team.
You have Tavares coming off.
That makes a lot of sense to me, but what in their history would suggest that they're going to do that they're going to see it that way?
How could you not see it? If it doesn't work again in year 9 or 10 of having all these guys around, you can't go back at it. It's time to shift the focus and do something different.
All right.
Maybe you do a Jerry Jones and you just bring in the assistant coach and just say, this is our new move. That's what Jerry does in Jerry world.
Yeah, Jerry. That's who you're relying on is Jerry Jones.
That coach
and his philosophy.
Guy available to coach the Dallas Cowboys.
Brian Schottenheimer.
That's the sign of a lunatic owner right there, when he just wants to bring in a yes man to do whatever Jerry wants, to be the general manager, and he's basically the coach now too.
Yeah. Well,
that is crazy. And a great example is, look at what's happened with the Washington Commanders since Dan Snyder is not in the fold anymore. Amazing.
It's not a coincidence.
It's not, dude.
It's not a coincidence.
And apparently Dan Snyder can't stand Washington.
Well, of course, man. Isn't that crazy? The guy's worth billions of dollars. He sold the team. He still made a fortune. And you know he just hates the Commanders.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
He'll hate them forever.
Oh, he hates them.
But
hates
dude,
them,
that guy bought the team and took over, and they didn't win a lick his whole tenure there.
No, and he was a disaster.
And I think the same's going to happen in Dallas. They can't win with Jerry Jones
totally
being
agree
around.
with that.
But what are you going to say to the guy?
Nothing. He owns the team. He's not going anywhere.
It's to me, we'll get back into the Marner thing. There's just options that are laid out, and they're pretty cut and dry. He has a no move. You got to figure out what the team's going to do in the future after the playoffs. You know, there is options after the playoffs, with success, without success, all of that. And ultimately, he controls it, because if he goes,
he can do whatever he wants.
Free agent.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of different things, but I think we've just been resigned to go, oh, I guess we're not talking about it until it happens in June, whenever.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been a masterclass. But I also think the market, us, as a show, there's just some exhaustion with constant contract core 4 chatter all the time. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, that's been, a big chunk of the legacy and the talking points for years, is how much they're going to make and what are they going to demand, and are they going to take less, and are they going to buy in, and are they going to... Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's just been a part of their history, and there's no reason to believe it's going to stop.
But John Tavares is coming out saying, I would sign an extension, and everyone's, you got to do it. I'm saying, why? Like, why?
Well, and they haven't, because they can wait. Now, he's a little bit different because of where he is in his career.
All of that type of stuff.
But still.
To me, they have the luxury of time, but you see moves like that, you go, okay, if Brad Treliving is going, I like Colorado, and we kind of mirror each other, and Colorado came out and said, we don't think we're deep enough. Now, do the Leafs believe they're deep enough? Do the Leafs believe, that's the philosophy. I like the thought process from Colorado. We're not getting this done. We don't think we're deep enough. We're doing something right now.
Well, and they also may be looking at, within their division, Winnipeg and the way they're playing, Dallas and how good they are, Vegas, Edmonton on, the Pacific and the West, and we got to be honest in assessing who we are.
Yeah.
This isn't going to get it done. Exactly. Yeah, this team isn't going to get it done, and it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But we're willing to take on the challenge, and it's going to start by ripping off a Band-Aid that stings, man.
Exactly.
Mikko Rantanen's a superstar.
Yeah, he is. Big time.
All right, Rob Gronkowski in 15 minutes. Pierre LeBrun later this afternoon. Luke Wilson coming up as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Rob Gronkowski coming up in about 10 minutes. Leafs back in action on Wednesday against Minnesota. We'll get into this Alex Pietrangelo story as well. He has pulled the shoot on the Four Nations face-off.
I know where your angle is on that.
Oh, really?
Number 34?
Because there's an ailment, but he played last night, so he can play through the ailment. He's decided it's the best for the Vegas Golden Knights that he doesn't go to the Four Nations. I know exactly where you're going with that.
Okay, we'll see about that. Okay, we'll get to that at around 5:30. He did play 24 minutes last night. Looked pretty good in a win against Florida. But there's an ailment that's going to keep him out 3 weeks from now. Can't play. Can't play in a few weeks.
Dude, maybe they just had a man conversation. The team and him sat down and said, look, we love our team this year. We plan on going on a deep run. We need you at your best. Maybe it was as simple as that.
It very well could have been.
Or maybe he's just like,
It very well could have been that.
Maybe he's like, I don't care about the Four Nations Cup.
Could have been a combination of all of it.
Or face-off or whatever.
The face-off. You got to get that right. You don't think he grew up up in King City dreaming of
it?
Winning the Four Nations face-off?
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
0.
I'm sure he did in King City. Had to. All right, so more on that into the next hour. Gronk coming up as well. And we'll get into that Rantanen deal that much more as we move forward throughout the afternoon. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.